Okay, so we're going to solve this system by elimination. Now, sometimes they'll call it the addition method, so I'm going to use the word solving system by elimination / addition method. They kind of mean the same thing, and you're going to see in the discussion, I'm going to use the word elimination, and I'm going to use the word addition. Now, I want you to notice something. See those two equations? Before, we either graphed these two, we saw where they intersect, and that was the solution, or we did substitution, so we picked one equation, solved for a variable, substitute to the other equation. But this one's easy enough to where I can, for that example, I can get the answer very quickly by using the addition-elimination method. All right, now there's a hint I'm going to give you. I'll do that next class period because you have a propensity, some of you, to leave things at home. So I'm going to give that to you next class period. But here's the idea. So in the elimination addition method, what you want to at some point end up with, and you got to make sure your variables are aligned, and they are. See, all the x's are aligned, all the y's are aligned, and on the other side are your constants. Okay, so that's going to be in that handout. So that everything has to be aligned. And at some point, if I'm going to use the elimination addition, at some point I got to make sure that one of the variables, either the x's or the y's, their coefficients are opposites of each other. And so I picked that example because that was already that case. So if you look at that example, are the coefficients of either the x's or the y's opposites of each other? Yeah. -4, what's the opposite of -4? +4. Okay, once I get to that point, and it's very easy to do that. If it wasn't, it's easy to do. But once you get to that point, then the next thing to do is to add those two equations together. Hence the idea of addition. So if I add those two equations now remember, in our discussion again next week, you can only add them if the coefficients of one of the variables are opposite. Because the point is this. You want to find out what x and y is, right? Okay. So if I add those, is one of my variables eliminated? Which one? The x. So if I add those, what's -4x and 4x? 0. That's eliminated. What's -2y and 8y? 6y equal, what's -12 and -24? -36. And then you solve for y, you found your y coordinate of your solution. So what's y? -6. So if I divide both sides by 6, get y to be -6. So that's so in terms of my solution, I just found the y coordinate. Okay? And all you got to do now is find the x coordinate. To find the x coordinate, you go back to one of those equations, no matter which one, and wherever you see the variable y, what do you substitute? -6. So you go back to either one of those, does not matter. So some of you may want to pick the first equation, some of you may want to pick the second equation. Does not matter. You'll notice you get the same x coordinate. I'm just going to pick the second one. So I found y, so I'm going to substitute y equal -6 into the second equation. Does not matter, right? First or second does not matter. So I get 4x plus 8 times y. What's y? -6, and that's going to equal -24. So I get 4x, 8 times the -6 is a -48 equal -24. What's the next step? Solve for x. Add 48 to both sides. So 4x equal 24. Divide both sides by 4. What's x? 6. So my solution is 6, -6. 6, -6. Now remember, check your solution. Some of you, when you did the worksheet on graphing, solving by graphing or solving by elimination, you could have easily determined if your work was correct by checking your solution. So if I check my solution, 6, negative 6 better make both of those equations true. So let's check. X is 6, x is negative 6. What's negative 4 times 6? Negative 24. What's a negative 2 times y? Y is a negative 6. Positive 12. A negative 24 and a positive 12 is a negative 12. So my first equation is okay. I got to check the other one. What's 4 times 6? 24. What's 8 times a negative 6? What's 24 and a negative 48? Negative 24. So that's correct. All right. So the idea behind elimination is that at some point you want the coefficients of either the x's or the y's to be opposite, and you add them up, solve for the variable, go back, substitute, and you get your x. So we'll do a couple more next time. Okay, so that's the end for today. Let me go ahead and give you your quiz.